because I truly believe that love will triumph over hate. I believe that if we stand together, that we can limit the amount of damage that will be done, and we can protect each other. When I look at what's going on, and I have it written on the, so I've got let me move these things around a little bit. Again, I apologize for the disorganization. So we have some people who are still in denial, and if that's where you're at, that's okay. We have people who are having rallies every night that are chanting, "Not my president," and if that's where you're at, that's where you're at. That's okay. Like I said, I found most people. I found a couple people in bargaining. They're saying things like, maybe we can flip 30 members of the Electoral College and have them vote again. Look, I am not telling anybody to stop. If that's what you're working on, you keep working on it. Okay? And I found a lot of people who were in depression who weren't ready to come out yet. And if you're not ready, you're not ready. That's okay. You can move through this at your own speed. And I will tell you that when it comes to acceptance, I have a hard time with just blind acceptance, so I want to replace that. I want to say we need to move to action. Now, I'm also going to tell you one other thing. There could be another A, which is answers. I don't have those today. We need to figure those out. That's not today. We're not ready for answers yet. We got to let the data come in. We can sit back and we can do a post-mortem and figure out where we went wrong, what we did wrong, how we got fooled, why we were surprised. But that's for later. For right now, the action that we need is to provide safety. We have people who are in fear, and we need to ensure that no citizen of this country, no resident of this country has to live in fear. The symbol that has kind of been adopted by this movement, it's not my idea by any means, but it's a great idea, is the safety pin. And we have safety pins that have been handed out here today. If you didn't get one, I'm not sure whether we may have just run out. Do we have any more safety pins? We've got some in the back still being handed out. So that safety pin is a symbol that you as a person commit yourself to provide safety to those who are at risk. And that's what we need today. Today we need the community to come together and provide that level of safety. I'll also say that a lot of the fear that we have, some of it is justified, but some of it may be more than what is justified. But when I look at it, I divide it into two categories. We have fears of policy. There are policies that could change, that are going to that will change our lives profoundly. But we have to remember, Donald Trump has won the White House. They have control of the House. They have control of the Senate. But they don't own the Constitution. And they don't control us. And what I commit to, and I ask all of you to commit to, is that we will ensure that everyone in our country has their constitutional rights respected. Our says everyone will be treated equally under the law. Our Constitution says even if there are legal things that pose challenges, you have a right to due process. And I want to say we will stand with you to ensure that your rights aren't violated. We'll stand with you to ensure that you have the rights of due process that you're entitled to under our Constitution. And that really is what today is about. What I'd like to do now is bring up some other people to speak on some of the things that they have been seeing. And so let me start. Chris Fair, you just happen to be at the top of my list. I'm not choosing a particular community. Okay. If you can come up and share what you are seeing in terms of the risk that the LGBT community is experiencing here, I'd really appreciate it.
Thank you, and for Andrew Duck and Millicent Hall for bringing us all together. It's such an important time. Friends, this week I have seen depression. This week I have seen fear. This week I have seen despair. The LGBT community and others were rocked to the core by the announcement of Donald Trump becoming President of the United States. Understandably so. A campaign waged on divisive rhetoric meant to pit brother against brother and sister against sister has always frightened our minority communities. We know when the flames of social tension are stoked, it's us who suffer first. The Southern Poverty Law Center reported that over 200 hate crimes have occurred since Tuesday. The Frederick Center has been inundated with messages like, "My child is afraid to go to school," and "Are they going to take away my marriage license?" Vice President-elect Mike Pence is notorious for his staunch anti-LGBTQ positions, from opposing same-sex marriage to believing, quote, gays should be placed in reparative therapy camps. Our community senses the threat of the next 4 years. Friends, family, and allies are concerned and scared, coming together across this nation to console one another. We, with our allies, should also be determined. Friends, we have been down this road before. Our communities know it better than anyone. We have lived through harassment, ignorance, intolerance, bigotry, homophobia, and Islamophobia. We have fought the uphill battle with the wind in our face for equality and respect. Starting in early 2000, we saw a dramatic shift in the cultural movement from that of the 90s. Many of us thought we would never see an end to the bleak years where religion was used as a tool to discriminate and wedge our families apart. But we and our allies banded together and fought back against those tools of ignorance and bigotry. We have always pushed the peripheries of social conscience. In the LGBTQ community, people continue to come out in record numbers, dotting the landscape across this entire country and touching the hearts and souls of every American. Marriage equality actually began in 2004 in Massachusetts with a Republican governor. The fight of Harvey Milk, Virginia Apuzzo, James Obergefell, Martin Boyle, Ellen DeGeneres, Jeffrey Bowers, Barney Frank, and so many others lives on in all of us. The groundwork is always being laid. We look back now and think how normal it all is. And we must remember that sense is there because of the battles we fought and won and the battles that we fought and lost. I, like many of you, wanted to see an election that respected and celebrated all of us. We have moved so far on actual equality in the last 8 years that I was sure with another 8 years, we could forever institutionalize the rights of all Americans. It did not come to pass as we had hoped. We have taken a detour on our road to the promised land. But I can tell you this, my friends, we are here to fight for our families, our children, and our rights. Our communities and our generations are now charged to reinforce that women's rights, our gay rights, our African American rights, our queer rights, our Asian American rights, our Native American rights, our Latino rights, our transgender rights, and our American rights, and our once and for all human rights. We are left asking ourselves, what can I do now? The answer is a lot. First, we must support each other. Wear a safety pin that symbolizes your support, that we are better linked to one another. We are better together. Stand up for a person being bullied. Call out racism, sexism, or homophobia when you see it, whether it be by an individual or an institution. Talk to your neighbors about the importance of equality, regardless of their ideology. Call your city, county, state, and federal representatives and request a meeting to share your thoughts. Finally, register to vote. If you need help getting started, contact your resources like the Frederick Center, the NAACP, Central Hispano, and the Asian American Center. We as a whole cannot do this alone. We live in a marketplace of ideas where a diversity of opinions, experience, and cultural differences leads to a greater understanding of all Americans. We need your active voice in this process. We must take the time to talk to those that may disagree. When our society stops communicating, our society and our movement ceases progressing. So now is the time when we must stand up, arm in arm, community with community, and fight the battle we are all too familiar with. This will not be easy, but then again, it never was. It is our responsibility to future generations to address this challenge head on. As Elizabeth Cady Stanton articulated in 1890, the moment we begin to fear the opinions of others and hesitate to tell the truth that is in us, and from motives of policy are silent when we should speak, the divine floods of light and life no longer flow into our souls. Do not let that light go out. Do not let that